Okay, so imagine this. Early Monday morning, Florida skies. You look up, and there's this incredible sight, like a vibrant, colorful space nebula just hanging there.
Wow. Yeah, I saw some pictures. Absolutely stunning.
Right, like something out of science fiction, honestly. Just appeared in the pre-dawn dark.
And what's really cool is that wasn't some, distant astronomical event. That was technology, SpaceX technology, actually.
Exactly. That beautiful glow was tied directly to a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch.
Hmm.
Specifically, it was their 30-second cargo run to the ISS, the CRS-32 mission. Uncrewed, of course.
Right. Headed for the International Space Station.
So for this deep dive, we want to get beyond just the, let's say, the wow factor of the picture.
Yeah. Understand the why behind it.
Exactly. The science, the mission itself, what it all signifies. Okay, so let's start with the glow. What technically caused that amazing visual?
Okay, so the key thing happening there is something called a boostback burn.
Boostback burn. Okay.
Yeah. So after the first stage of the Falcon 9 separates from the second stage, the part carrying the cargo, it doesn't just tumble down.
Right. It needs to come back for landing.
Precisely. So it fires its engines again way up there in the atmosphere. That's the boostback burn.
Ah, so it's essentially hitting the brakes, or rather, changing direction way up high.
Exactly that. It flips around and fires its engines to cancel out some forward velocity and set a course back towards the landing zone.
And it's the exhaust from that burn high up against the dark sky.
Well, it catches the sunlight just right before dawn. The particles in the exhaust plume get illuminated, creating that expansive nebula-like effect.
Incredible. It's amazing how something purely functional can look so, well, beautiful.
It really is a side effect of the engineering.
Now, we've seen these kinds of effects before, haven't we? Especially with Falcon 9 landings near Cape Canaveral.
We have, yeah. Landings at landing zones 1 and 2 there often produce these glows.
So what made this one stand out, maybe? Or are they all a bit different?
They are all a bit different. The exact appearance depends heavily on the timing of the launch relative to sunrise, the specific altitude of the burn, atmospheric conditions, humidity, viewing angle. Lots of factors.
Oh, okay. So each one's kind of unique.
Definitely. This particular launch, CRS-32, lifted off from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center, historic pad.
And the booster landed.
It came back down, yeah, successfully landed at Landing Zone 1 over at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Just, a few kilometers away from the launch site.
Relatively short hop back for the booster then.
Pretty much, yeah. Made for a great show for those nearby.
Okay, so it's carrying cargo to the ISS. But I heard this wasn't just an ISS mission. There was more going on.
That's right. It was a multi-part mission. Along with the Dragon cargo capsule for NASA, it was also carrying a batch of satellites.
Oh, okay.
This was part of SpaceX's rideshare program, specifically a mission they called Bandwagon 3.
Bandwagon 3, like carpooling.
Yeah.
For space.
Huh? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It lets smaller satellite operators share the cost of a launch, making access to space more affordable. Very efficient.
Makes sense. Get as much value out of each launch as possible. And speaking of launches, wasn't this part of a really busy period for SpaceX?
Oh, incredibly busy. This CRS-32 launch was actually their third Falcon 9 launch in less than 48 hours.
Wow. 3 in under 2 days.
Yeah. 1 from California, 2 from Florida. It really shows their operational tempo right now, just launch after launch.
That's quite something. Puts things in perspective.
It does. And, just for scale, this specific launch marked SpaceX's 245th orbital mission from the Cape.
245th.
And it was the 300th orbital launch overall from Cape Canaveral, including all providers throughout history.
300 total from the Cape. That's a milestone.
A big one, yeah. Lots of history there.
Okay, so ISS cargo, Bandwagon satellites. But there was one other payload that sounded particularly interesting, Phoenix 1.
Ah, yes, Phoenix 1. That's a really intriguing piece of this mission. It's a small reentry capsule.
Reentry, so designed to come back.
Exactly. Built by a German company, Atmos Space Cargo. The plan was for it to deploy, complete just one orbit, and then splash down in the Atlantic.
One orbit and back down, whereabouts?
Targeted splashdown zone was about 2,000 kilometers off the coast of Brazil.
Okay, so not just getting up there, but proving they can get something back accurately.
Yeah.
That sounds significant.
It really is. It's successful, and we're still waiting on final confirmation, I believe. But if it worked as planned, it would be the first ever reentry mission by a European company.
The first. Wow, that's a pretty big deal for European space efforts.
Absolutely. A major step demonstrating that capability.
And Atmos Space Cargo, the company behind it, they have bigger plans for this, right? It's not just a one-off test.
Oh, definitely not. They've got a bold mission statement, something like to revolutionize space logistics,
Revolutionize space logistics.
with enabling groundbreaking advancements in microgravity research, in orbit manufacturing, defense applications, and life sciences.
So they see this as enabling a lot more activity, like bringing experiments back maybe, or stuff made in space.
Exactly. Think about returning sensitive biological samples or new materials manufactured in zero-G, or even, deploying specialized assets. Reliable reentry is key to a lot of future space applications.
Hmm. Opens up a lot of possibilities beyond just sending things up.
Hmm.
Okay, and one last piece of the puzzle, the rocket itself, the Falcon 9 first stage. Do we know anything about this specific booster?
We do. The serial number gives it away. This one was booster B290.
B11090. Okay.
And what's notable here, tying into the reusability aspect we mentioned, is that this was its third flight.
Third time launching and landing.
Correct. Flew twice before, successfully landed, got refurbished, and flew again for CRS-32. Landed again, ready for another go eventually.
It still amazes me every time. That reusability factor is just, it's changed the game.
Fundamentally, it's what enables that rapid launch cadence in missions like Bandwagon, lower costs, more flights.
Right. So let's tie this all together then. That incredible nebula-like glow people saw wasn't just a random beautiful thing. It was the exhaust from a reusable Falcon 9 booster doing its critical boostback burn.
Yep, repositioning for landing.
It's part of a really complex mission,
Right.
delivering supplies to the ISS, launching a whole batch of rideshare satellites.
And carrying this pioneering re-entry capsule test for a European company.
All in one go.
All in one flight, yeah. It shows how these spectacular moments we see are directly linked to some pretty sophisticated technology and really ambitious goals for space.
It really connects the dots, doesn't it? That aha moment.
Yeah.
The pretty picture suddenly has all this depth behind it, the engineering, the logistics, the future potential.
Exactly. More than meets the eye, quite literally.
So thinking about this, as spaceflight becomes, well, maybe more routine isn't the right word, but definitely more frequent.
More accessible, maybe?
Yeah, more accessible. And we push the engineering further.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what other kinds of unexpected, maybe even beautiful phenomena are we going to witness as byproducts of our ventures into space? What else might surprise us up there?
That's a fascinating thought. What other spectacles might technology create as we explore further? Definitely something to keep an eye out for.